So when I was 8, I was in Vacation Bible School, and they took all of us kids into the big church there, and the pastor was on the dais, and he expressed to all of us, talking about Jesus and all this kind of thing, and basically how it was presented to me in my 8-year-old mind was appealing to, if you want to be a good person, you would accept Jesus. And who doesn't want to be a good person, right? So he said, if you want to be, and of course the terminology at the time is saved, you say this prayer and then come down to the front there and gather around with, everyone who would say this prayer. So as he said the prayer, I said it to myself, I did, just kind of quietly to myself, and afterwards, all the other kids who had said it walked down to the front, and I was just heading back to the classroom with the rest of sorry, but the my VBS teacher at the time, she apparently had seen me, and she stopped me and she said, "You said the prayer, didn't you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And she insisted, "You got to get back in there." And she took me back in there, and I went through the whole thing. They set up the baptism and all this sort of stuff, and and I went through all that. But for me, the thing is, apparently I didn't wasn't seeking the recognition. I just wanted to be right with God, I guess you could say, right? But I didn't feel anything different or any sort of presence or anything like that. Just same me I've always been, and so after I went through that, and I'm baptized and all this kind of good stuff, which was great. That's fine. But what happened was, as I got older, I started to see, let's say, the aspects, particularly of heart, and this is where it's at. It's what I saw in the hearts of people who were around me, and I started to react to things that just didn't jive with me, of what my understanding of this, the idea of what Jesus was sharing, and all this kind of way, and seeing that in the other people around me in the church and in the Christian community, if you will, that turned me off to it, and for years, disavowed the idea of being Christian or anything like that, because what I saw was the negative side. That never changed what I was, the inner voice, the connection I had always felt, what I'm saying, in terms of to my heart, if you will. But it was this sort of putting in stark relief that I was seeing all these people who had done this and were calling themselves Christian, and they loved Jesus. I saw, and this is not everyone, you know what I'm saying, we're all individuals, but I saw enough of the people around me who had what I would call, quote unquote, some dark things in their heart, and things that they were encouraging and putting in there, justified by what the church, things that they were being taught. It has taken me a long time to make my peace with that, if you will, to really basically, I spent so much time trying to, I would challenge Christians with what I understood of Jesus and what the Bible said and all this kind of way. But I would do it from a place, and they would always posture from a place, because at this point in the stage of it, I was not claiming Christianity. I was not, this kind of way. And so they saw me as someone who was opposed to what they were doing, or opposed to Jesus in this kind of way. So finally recognizing that because I was just seeing it differently than them, didn't mean that, we were talking about a different thing, right? because we were talking about the same thing, but perhaps maybe just on a different level of it, if you will. And so basically I had to come back around to realize that what I felt or what I believed, it was not wrong in the sense of being, against let's say the truths, right? It was just that I had to learn to stand in that truth and not let others define it for me, if that makes sense, which I know it does. So I know many Christians talk about the fact that once they asked Jesus into their heart, they felt presence, and I believe that. I don't doubt them for a minute. All I'm saying is that for me, whatever presence I felt had always been there, and it was just terminologies and words and concepts sort of put around that. But now, to me, it's only become simpler. And I'm right now having to learn let's just put it this way, how to best engage with Christianity in the truth that I feel while allowing grace. And that's where I've not always been great, because I've many times chastised, and sometimes it's appropriate. I mean, that's the other idea I think that people miss about Jesus, that it's like he's just like the initial concept that it's just a martyr. You turn the other cheek, you just lay down on everybody. But if you go back and look at it, that's not what's happening at all. There are very clear boundaries set. And that's where I'm learning to walk right now.